One of the best episodes of TV was recently released with episode 7 of IT Welcome To Derry, and with that, it means that there's now only one episode remaining in the HBO show. This series had us on the edge of our seat for the past 7 weeks, and to be honest, after that penultimate episode, I thought that was going to be it. I didn't think there was going to be a way that they'd be able to top it. However, after watching this trailer, Pennywise's final surprise massacre that he didn't initially plan on doing is going to be even more bloody than what we saw at the burning of the Black Spot. So with that, let's dive into this video and break down the trailer frame by frame, and I'll also give my theories and predictions on what I think will happen next. Here is IT Welcome To Derry Episode 8 Trailer Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. So first off, what do we know about the episode? Well, one of the main things that we know about the episode is that it's titled Winter Fire. Despite not being a complete oxymoron, Winter Fire does have that oxymoronic feel to it, in making it seem like the horrific events that are going to occur and the potential fire that could well happen inside of the school as Pennywise looks to unleash chaos is going to be a chilling experience to watch unfold. I also think it's alluding to the fact that Pennywise is going to make the environment of this episode feel like winter, or at least it is snowing as we saw in the trailer with Pennywise standing outside. When it comes to the trailer, the first thing that we saw was Dick Hallorann back on his bed like he was in episode 6, and it seemed like his mental state was completely in the mud. He was bad before when Pennywise opened the black box and was laughing at all of the horrors that were spilling out of it, but now with Hallorann having spoken to the dead, they've noticed him. And his mind is going to quite literally be getting haunted by all of the dead that have surrounded him. The bottle, which was numbing his pain 2 episodes back, most likely won't even be able to have the same effect as what it did because they've now found him. The first line of dialogue was, "Dick, what are you doing?" This was spoken by Leroy Hanlon as he walked into Hallorann's room, and it looked like he was turning a weapon on himself because of the trouble that the dead were causing him. Hallorann responded and said, "I can't take it no more." As this was said, his words were echoed and there was this high-pitched noise that was going off in the background, almost showing us that the voices that he was hearing inside of his head due to the dead that were surrounding him were almost deafening. Pair that with the fact that in the most recent episode, he quite literally watched many of his friends and the people that he's closest to getting cooked inside the Black Spot, and if they didn't burn, then they were fired at through the window and walls. Hallorann was lucky to make it out alive, so I feel he might have survivor's guilt and he might also be seeing those very people that he was standing partying with mere hours ago, now in front of him and haunting his reality. Following this, we then got a shot of Pennywise inside of what looked like a cart of some kind. It almost felt like it was of the era of the original 1908 Pennywise the Clown, and he had a horn of some kind that he was playing. I actually think this is going to be Hallorann and Pennywise connecting through the Shining ability, but I'll get onto that in a bit. Half of Pennywise's face being red, the golden yellow eyes cutting through the darkness, and the blank facial expression was so haunting, and it just made me think how I'd hate to have that staring back at me. After this, we then had a line of dialogue being sung by Pennywise, which was, "When I close my eyes and I dream of you, I see your pretty faces and I taste them too." I think this is going to be taking place when he's speaking to the children that are inside of the school. It looks like he's going to be putting on a show of some kind, as was seen in this shot here, so I feel when he arrives there and has all of them contained, that's how he's potentially going to speak with them. Or this could be taking place back at his lair when he's got them there through using the Deadlights ability. Underneath Pennywise singing this, there was a shot of Hallorann closing his eyes and looking stressed, which makes me think that Pennywise is going to be showing himself to Hallorann a lot more than what he was before. But in this instance, I feel he could be closing his eyes because he wants to block out all of the dead that he's seeing in his reality. As well as that, we also saw Marge, Ronnie and Lily in the heart of Derry as the mist took over the town. There was also a shot of many missing children that were on the wall, most likely because Pennywise took them from the school. This included Patricia Stanton from the Patty Cakes, and most importantly, Will. At the end of the most recent episode, Will saw Pennywise in his truest form, which was the Deadlights, and it made his eyes go milky and him float into the air. This is different from Pennywise consuming them. The Deadlights bind new victims and rob them of their conscious minds, ultimately driving them insane and making them numb. It's a way of Pennywise storing his food and rendering them to a state where he can consume them later, rather than in the immediate moment. After this, it then cut to Pennywise, and he was somewhere strange that we hadn't seen before. The sheer amount of red that's present makes me think that he could have taken the children to his lair because we caught a glimpse of it in the previous episode when he was rudely awoken. Maybe he used the Deadlights ability on all of them and transported them there. Pennywise was clearly talking to a lot of people as he was pointing and picking out people individually. There was a shot later on in the episode of it seeming like Pennywise was using the deadlights to make other children float, and with there being blood on the shoes and legs, I think he's going to cause a massacre there, and his eyes might well be too big for his stomach, so he'll deadlight the rest of them and take them back into the sewers. Pennywise looked so haunting. He was essentially drenched in blood from his face all the way down to his shoulders and hands. He was originally done, his feeding cycle was over, but the military went and woke him up and have now unleashed a worse chaos than they could have possibly ever imagined on Derry. Following this, we then saw Marge, Ronnie and Lily looking at a missing poster of Will, and Lily said, "It took Will." This makes me think that they're going to go back into the sewers like Lily originally wanted them to do a few episodes back, and that'll be the reason that Ronnie will then switch sides. She's in love with Will, and with him doing anything to be with her and actually helping her when it came to her father inside of the black spot, this will be her repaying the favor to him. Alongside this, there was a shot of Hallorann continuing to see the dead inside of his room, and I think it's just highlighting that he's going to be plagued by them for the entirety of the episode and maybe feel like he might have to confront Pennywise head on. After this, there was then a shot of the children trying to escape from the school, but I don't think they're going to be able to, hence all of the missing children's posters that we ended up seeing on the wall. The mist was taking over the town, and as it was, there was a shot of it appearing as somebody looking through a window. With Marge, Ronnie and Lily being in the heart of the town as the mist was present, I think we'll most likely see the entity smiling towards them at this point. After that, Pennywise concluded his singing by elongating the word goodbye over the final shots. This is symbolic of the fact that he's most likely going to be killing a ton of people, but also for a couple of other reasons. The first because he's going to be going into hibernation after the massacre, but also because with a pillar being removed, it means that there's a gap in the cage that is Derry. So I wonder if he's going to try and escape, and that could be why he's saying goodbye. From here, a quick succession of shots started to occur. The first was of Lily, Marge and Ronnie running through the woods, and Lily had the shard that Pennywise was afraid of inside of her hand. This leans even more into the fact that they're going to be going on the offensive when it comes to taking out Pennywise. There was one of General Shaw looking through his binoculars, which makes me think that he's going to come face to face with the very being that plagued his mind all of those years ago in 1908. One of Charlotte throwing her hands at Leroy because she's going to be frustrated at the fact that Will has gone missing and she might blame him for moving them to a place that's so dangerous and ultimately putting his duty over his family. There was then a shot of the cart that Pennywise was going to emerge from with the horn that we saw earlier on in the trailer, and I think Hallorann is going to use his shine ability, and that's where he's going to confront Pennywise. There was a shot earlier on of Hallorann's eyes closing and Pennywise's eyes opening, and it seemed like they connected, and it was in the cart there. Pair that with Pennywise pushing somebody away later on in the trailer. I think it's definitely that. There was also one of Leroy Hanlon unleashing his anger due to Will being missing. One of the girls looking at the mist coming in and taking over the entirety of Derry, which is where they could potentially see Pennywise dancing towards them. Rose, Charlotte and the girls inside of a van driving through the mist, where I imagine Pennywise will be coming towards them too, which is why Rose looked so shocked. Marge was also taken by Pennywise whilst in the mist. The military were firing their weapons towards it, which shows that the widespread fear that General Shaw wanted to inflict into America will most likely get its opportunity to be tested on and occur in Derry, showing how it wasn't the right thing to inflict onto the public. Then the final line of dialogue that we had in the trailer was of Pennywise saying, "So long, losers." Again, like I said earlier on in the video, this could be because he's about to kill, go back into hibernation, or because he's planning on leaving Derry. As he said this, Rose and Charlotte had weapons, and they're most likely going to be trying to get Hank out of Derry still. Leroy had a weapon as he'll be serving alongside the military and trying to defeat the entity. There was one of Pennywise inside of the cart kicking somebody, which I think is Hallorann, and Hallorann screaming with it looking like somebody was screaming inside of his mouth, showing that he was using his abilities. So I think we're going to see Hallorann's shining abilities coming into full effect in this episode, and he could well help in locating the missing children, or when it comes to facing off against Pennywise. The final shot that we had in the trailer was of Pennywise walking his fingers along to the microphone that played through the tannoy at the school, which was a haunting way of alluding to the fact that the school was going to be his next hunting ground. Then with that, the trailer came to an end. The next episode of the show genuinely looks like it could be the most frightening, and it's going to conclude this timeline in the bloodiest way possible. The show has been one hell of a ride, and I can't wait to see how it's going to conclude with what I imagine is going to be the darkest of crescendos. So, there you have it. It Welcome to Derry Episode 8 Trailer Explained. If you want to see more videos on IT Welcome to Derry, then check the playlist below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss my breakdown of the finale. What do you think will happen next? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video, and I'll see you in the next one.